here today with Sue Todey, who graduated from Sevastopol in 1961, and Linda Waite, class of 1969. And we're going to begin with Sue. She went all 12 years to Sevastopol, first grade through high school. So she's going to tell us a little bit about what she remembers about the building, her classroom, some of her experiences.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I started at Sevastopol as a first grader because at that time we did not have kindergarten. So we had a couple of days in the start of first grade where we went to half a day to get to know our teacher, Mrs. Siki. And I remember exactly where that room was. It would have been on the northeast corner of the building. And we had first and second grade together in that same room. And I remember a poster in Mrs. Siki's room that probably influenced the rest of my life. It said, "Make the best better." And I thought that makes sense because we can always do better. So I remember seeing that. I can see it right now. It was up on that corner of the wall. And then in second grade, some of us got moved to another room because there were too many kids for that one room. So we were moved to a room, would have been on the northwest corner of the building, along with some third and fourth graders. And then from there, we proceeded up the chain of grades. And I started as a high school student in band, enjoyed that very much. That was in the lower level of the building, would have been the southwest corner, not too far from what we called the lunchroom, now would be called the cafeteria. And that was just down the hall from there.
So can I ask, so for anyone that remembers, so that band room that you talk about is today a middle school social studies room?
Yes, I believe so.
And
yeah.
then the lunchroom is where that other string of middle school rooms
right.
are on the first floor.
Right, exactly, yes. And I remember the auditorium from high school. That was up on the third floor. And behind the auditorium, there was a small section. It wasn't a closed off room. It was a small section which was the library. And then we had study hall in the back of the auditorium. The front of the auditorium was for performances and for lyceum programs, we call them at that time. You'd probably call them assemblies or convocations now. But that was really an impressive auditorium. And we had our graduations there. We had all of our plays there. And people really enjoyed coming there because it was something very special.
When we did the history on this school, the auditorium was a big focus of newspaper articles and being very modern with a lighted stage and sound system.
Yes, and comfortable seating. Very comfortable.
So when you were in school, what was, I remember blue seats with velvet bottoms.
Yes,
What,
yes.
what were the seats when you were in school?
I believe they were blue, yes. But it was...
And the whole floor was hardwood, as I recall.
Yes, very nice hardwood floor. Yes, very well kept up, as our building has been over the years, very well maintained.
And you had your graduations in the auditorium.
Yes, absolutely, yes. And all the plays were in the auditorium. And band concerts, Christmas concerts, I remember sitting up there on the stage. I played the flute in the band. And I remember being up there, and we thought it was pretty impressive, and we were very important. So.
Good. Yeah. So that was it was an impressive room. So what other rooms do you recall from those second and third floors that?
Well, I remember the third floor, Mrs. Bergsland's room. I had typing and shorthand in that room, and the first year that I took typing was the first year that the school had a few electric typewriters. There were about 4 of them in the back of the room, and some of us were assigned, I don't know how, but anyway, we were assigned to those electric typewriters. And those were obviously very impressive at that time. But I remember Mrs. Bergsland, she was very much of a perfectionist. We had to type so many words a minute without error. And she made us work until we did that. And I have a copy of the CHIPS newspaper here from 1961. And there are references here. The following students have recently achieved commercial awards on a 10-minute writing, 5 errors or less. And some people got 30-word pins, some got 40-word pins.
That's right. We used to get pins for how many
Yes.
words per minute.
Absolutely. And then for shorthand, 95% accuracy in shorthand. And I remember that room up there in the corner would have been the northwest corner of the building. And I remember sitting there at that electric typewriter learning how to do all of that. So we've come a long ways from that.
Maybe it might have been the same when you were in school. I remember the typewriters when I was in school. We had half the room was manual and half was electric. So half would start on electric and half would start on manual. And I had to start on the manual typewriters, which was awful because you couldn't get any speed, those other
Right.
girls. But in semester we changed and we had the far easier time going to electric than they did back to manual.
Oh, yes, yes, exactly, yeah. No, it, obviously, the building has many, many positive memories for all of us, I think, and it's bittersweet to learn that it's going to be demolished, but it is very positive for our Sevastopol kids to have a wonderful new facility, and that's what we need to focus on and cherish the good memories that we have from the old building.
So when you were in middle school, high school, the district office is where it was today? Was
Yes.
it seems to us that that has never moved.
Right, I think, yeah, Mr. Schultz's office was there, as I recall, near that vault, which I believe is still there. And that's all there was. We didn't have a superintendent, we had 2 principals. Mr. Miller was the 1 through 8 principal, and then Mr. Schultz was 9 through 12.
So we have pictures in the yearbooks of the halls being just clear. There are no lockers or anything. Did you have lockers?
We had lockers. They were in the lowest level, near the gym, the old gym, which would now be the multi-purpose room. But they were in the hall just north of the, what would now be the multi-purpose room. But we did have lockers then. We didn't in elementary school. I guess we just kept things at our desk. The desks opened up like that, and you put your stuff in.
I remember my plaid school bag.
Okay, yes,
So
we
it
all
was-
had
we did-
school
We did
bags.
not have backpacks then.
Right.
No,
You
no.
used a school bag.
Yes,
And,
yes.
I distinctly.
Yeah, I had one too.
So were you a twirler majorette or whatever they called them?
Yes, yes, I was. And I still have my old baton, has a lot of memories. I took lessons from Mary Jane Van Dyce, now Mary Jane Sorgel. And I remember going to her studio on 3rd Avenue in Sturgeon Bay, and she was an excellent instructor and, of course, spent her whole life in that area.
This is kind of interesting to me because the diplomas today look very much like this.
Yes,
They
yes.
open to
do.
the side, but they've got the same cover, the same
Yes.
script, and this really the same inside
Right, right.
and
right.
format as
Yes.
it did way back then.
Yes, yes.
You had to pay. This is interesting. There were fees at that time. This is the Sevastopol School 1960-61 fee card. You were student number 69. And you paid a book rental fee of $3. The assembly programs were 90 cents. Was that 90 cents a piece?
No, that was for the whole
Total.
year, yeah.
Towel service, $1.50.
Yeah, that was for FIAD, gym as we called it.
Jim, did you wear the blue?
Yes, the
uniforms?
bloomer
Yes,
suit,
yeah.
yes, yes.
The insurance was 75 cents, so you paid a total of $6.15. And you got a refund of $2 in May of 1961.
Yeah. And of course, that was a sizable sum at that time.
Oh, sure, yeah. So in the gym, in 61, were there still locker rooms off the sides?
Yes,
Of the
yes,
gym?
yes.
The
And a
men's
shower
ladies?
room,
And a
yes.
shower room?
Right. We all hated the showers then, just like kids do today.
Just like kids do today. And the balconies were still intact?
Oh, yes, yes. I remember sitting up in the balcony. One of the activities that we really enjoyed was the donkey basketball, where there was some company that brought in a trailer load of donkeys and played basketball. And I remember sitting up in that balcony watching those donkeys.
As I hear it, it was really small, and there were only like 3 rows of bleachers on the floor.
Yes,
and that
there
those
weren't many
balconies
on the
and gym
floor,
would get
but
real
there
full
were
and
a lot on
loud.
the balcony, a lot of seating on the balcony on both sides. And the boys' locker rooms were on one side, and the girls' locker rooms were on the other side of the gym.
I love this. I think we should reinstate these little pennants.
Yes.
I had to press it a little bit before I brought it today. It got a little wrinkled.
The other thing that's the same is the letter that you receive. Today, they receive athletic letters and academic letters and band letters.
Right.
I guess you got.
We got a generic one.
You got a
and then
generic one.
The different pins that we could put on that.
Pins are for, well, I can't, maybe you can tell us what they are.
Well, there's one here for cheerleader with a little megaphone. There's one for journalism. Then there's one for class of 61. I happen to be editor of the Chips newspaper. This one was for shorthand. And this one was for citizenship. This was for typing, 60 words. Student council, this was a music one. Scholarship and FTA. And that was Future Teachers of America. And I did go on to be a teacher. At this time in 1961, we were planning a carnival, which was a fundraiser for the FTA, the Future Teachers. And we were putting up booths and chairs and tables, and all the organizations would have an opportunity to participate in that, so it would be.
So you set that up in the
school-wide.
gymnasium?
Yes, in the gym. Yeah.
And was that open to the was it just for the school? Was it open to the public?
The public, yes, Even little kids, there were things for preschool kids too.
Science
Oh,
or-
yes, that was, I believe, up on the 3rd floor, maybe on the west side of the building. And, we had the typical science tables, the gas jets, all those very similar. Obviously, we didn't have the computer access, but a lot of similar things to what there is today in science.
What was your favorite meal in the lunchroom?
Oh, I had a lot of favorite meals in the lunchroom. In fact, I think I sometimes infuriated my mother because I would come home and say, well, why can't you make this like they make it at school? But I think my very favorite one was Spanish hamburgers. We called them Spanish hamburgers at that time, probably more referenced now by
Sloppy
Sloppy
Joe's,
Sloppy
maybe?
Joe's, yes. And then there was another thing that I really liked, and that was prune whip. It was a dessert.
yes.
It was prunes
Yes.
with
Whipped cream or-
Whipped cream, yeah. I don't know if it was real whipped cream or not, but it was really good. But the one meal that I didn't like was liver, and I still don't like liver to this day. And we had to clean up our plates at that time. I tell you, there was no mercy when it came to that. And I remember taking those little pieces of liver, rolling them in mashed potatoes, which was always served with the liver, and then choking them down. Because you sat there until you cleaned up your plate.
I know one of my friends said that they were always, if they knew it was going to be liver that day, they would sit sit next to a certain friend because she loved liver.
Oh,
So they
okay.
would just kind of slide it off of
Yeah.
one plate onto the other.
I guess I didn't have a friend, or
Right,
else
we
I
had
didn't
to.
think about that, but that's a good idea.
So was it kind of, was the lunchroom set up much like it would be today? There was a serving window and you would walk through and
Yes,
get your food
yes.
and go sit at some
Right.
tables and benches or
Right.
whatever?
And then you'd pick up your milk. We had milk machines where you would lift
The
up.
little Dixie cups cone, they
Yeah.
were cone shaped.
Yeah, and then you'd lift the handle and you could have milk. And actually, at that time, the federal government had a surplus of milk. So we were able to get milk at recess, at lunch, and then afternoon recess as well.
So when you were in elementary school, where was the playground outside? Where was the recess area?
Right out in the back of the school, right out on the east side. It was a basic playground with monkey bars, and then we had a skating rink out there in the winter, because I remember I was trying to learn how to skate and I wasn't very good at it. And then my best friend broke her arm skating out there one day, and that was the end of my skating. I didn't want any more of that.
I think I can remember playing kickball out there.
Okay.
You briefly mentioned the office. I remember going to the office. My mom would wrap our lunch money in a hanky, a real hanky,
Oh,
tied a
sure.
little knot.
Yeah.
And we would take our lunch money on Monday morning or
Right.
Friday afternoon or whatever to the office there, and
Yeah.
that was our lunch.
Yeah. I remember
Look.
at one point it was $1 for a week.
If even that.
Yes, yes. But you're right, we had to go every week to the
Drop
office
off our
and,
lunch money.
and get our lunch card. Yeah, a lot of good memories.
Right. And mine are pretty much the same as yours. Sue,
Yes.
Because there was no kindergarten
Yeah.
back when I started,
Yeah.
so I was first through 8th grade there. When I started my freshman year, that's when we moved into the newer portion then
Okay,
of
okay,
the school.
okay. Yeah, we didn't talk about middle school or junior high. It was grade school and high school,
Right.
1 through 8 and then 9 through 12.
Were there parochial school students coming here then in high school?
Oh, yes,
Like there are
yes,
now?
right, right. And the parochial school students rode on the buses with us, and then they were dropped off at St. Peter and Paul, and then the rest of us were dropped off here. But then, once it came to high school, then everybody came here.
We hear stories about having Phi Ed class in the old boiler room, and with the janitor's room.
Well, I remember the boiler room, but no Phi Ed classes.
Okay. And you mentioned a towel fee. They washed the towels here at school and
Yes, yes,
handed them out.
yes, right, right. And sometimes, if we didn't want to take a shower, we'd just wet the towel. We were kids.
Did you have a Phi Ed instructor?
Yes, Mrs. Riebel. Yeah, she taught Phi Ed and journalism and some of the...
Mrs. Riebel
I
taught
had-
physical education?
Yes,
I
yes,
had no idea she
And
taught
gra-
Phi Ed.
And graphic arts?
yes, yes, yes. Business, some business classes, bookkeeping and that type of thing. She was very versatile in what she taught, yes.
I thought many of the teachers were very versatile.
Oh, yes.
Carl Schultz taught math classes.
And agriculture,
And agriculture.
yes, yes.
Was the agriculture room where it is in the last years, or,
Yes, yes.
and do you remember the building of the 1946 edition? Or that was before your time? Where
Yes.
the shop and
It was here when I was here, yes.
was the new part of the school?
Right, right, right.
Where was the football field?
The football field would have been on the south side of the building.
Where the 1965,
Yes, yeah, approximately where that was, yeah. I remember the homecomings, the bonfires out there on that side of the building.
what was the best place to go hide in the building?
I
Well-
know, I know.
Go ahead.
Our favorite place was the, off of the locker room, there was a stairwell. That would be on the east side, I believe, and that was a good place to hide out. So,
Well, it was pretty hard to find a place to hide because we always accused Mr. Schultz of having crepe sole shoes so that he could sneak up on us. And I remember one time being up on the stage, we were practicing for one of the plays and we were goofing around, which we shouldn't have been. But all of a sudden, Mr. Schultz appeared on the scene. Well, that was the end of our goofing around, obviously. So we were kind of hiding out there, but it didn't work.
Sue, do you remember the murals that were painted on the back of several of the classrooms? There was on third floor, there was a wildlife mural in one of the rooms. I had an old teacher named Perry Ritt. That
Oh,
was a
yes, English
World War-
teacher,
He was
yeah.
a World War I veteran. and
Yes, yes, I remember Perry,
there was-
sure.
There was a full-size wall mural in the back of his room.
I don't remember that. Guess it didn't impress me. My artistic talents weren't aroused by that, I guess. So, yes, but I remember having English class with Perry Ritt, sure.
was he also driver's ed instructor? Or
I
am I
don't
thinking
recall,
of someone
Everett
else?
Roberts was driver's ed
Yes,
also.
yes, I remember that, yeah.
And Everett came right off of Korean War to teach here or something like that.
Okay, yeah. He was here for many years. I learned something from him. I worked in the office during the summer to help out with things. And one of the reasons I got that job is I could run the mimeograph machine. And the two ladies who worked in the office didn't have that experience at that time, so they hired me to do that. No, nobody knows what a mimeograph machine is now, but in those days, we typed up stencils on blue plastic kind of film, and then we ran those
Run them
on this
through
machine with the
on a
big drum. But I remember doing that during the summer and working with Mr. Schultz and the ladies in the office and spending time here during the summer when there weren't other students here.
And speaking of Everett Roberts, his wife became one of the workers in the, was one of the workers in the office, Eileen Bernschein.
Oh, yes, right. Yeah, and Everett always insisted, whenever he ordered anything or had anything to do with the office, he always insisted that his name be Everett W. Roberts. And he said it's important to use your middle name for your legal, or middle initial for your legal name. So I took that to heart, and I've always done that. For my legal name, I've used my middle initial of E. But I remember that lesson that I learned from him.
I've learned a lot from you. Did your parents go to Sevastopol at all?
No. My mother went to Sturgeon Bay, and then my dad was an immigrant from Croatia. He came to this country when he was 15 and never had any formal schooling in this country. Had a few years of elementary school in Croatia.
How did he end up in Door County?
Well,
I know Sue did a marvelous presentation for our Historical Society. You were one of our first programs.
yes.
But I don't remember, how did your dad?
Well, when
end up
he
in Door
came
County?
over, his dad was working in the iron ore mines in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
In the UP.
And then some of the Croatian people, you know, they stuck together pretty much. Some of them started coming down here. You know, the Polishes, the Columbos, the Penoviches. And so my dad and his dad, my grandfather, came down and bought our farm because there were all these other Croatian people, you know, Penoviches up one way, Polishes the other, Columbos a little bit further south. And my dad was purchasing a truck, a milk truck. He hauled milk. And he was purchasing this big truck, and the salesperson, who happened to be a man at that time, they all were, said, "Do you have a little boy at home who would like this truck?" My dad said, "No, but I have a little girl at home who would love that truck." And I still have the truck. Yeah, a lot of good memories.